All right, so over the last week, I have been obsessed with just messing around, making random builds. And this is a build that a lot of you have probably seen, but I've had several people ask me about it, how I'm doing it, so on and so forth. So I was like, you know what? I'll just make a version of my version of this build. So this is the infinite chaos reach, like super fast, like 7 to 10 second chaos reach build using Delicate Tomb, which is the exotic special fusion rifle. That used to be terrible, but then Bungie made some changes to it, and now this plus geomags is extremely strong. But it is super unique. I don't really see them nerfing this, because part of the reason why this is so strong this season is because of it being an arc season and the bolt charge and all that stuff, and then also because of limit break. Normally without limit break, chaos reach is just not that strong of a super. So having a bunch of this super, you know, it's okay without limit break, but it's nothing to cry home about. And you're sacrificing your exotic on a, you know, very mediocre fusion rifle outside of it being able to build your super quickly. That's about it. So yeah, anyways, so this is my take. This is my version of this build. This is what I'm having a blast using. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into this video. So right off the bat, this is my artifact. This is what it looks like if you just wanted to copy this real quick, without explanation of why I'm using each thing. But anyways, hopping right into the artifact, starting off with the second row, because the first row does not matter for this build. Very, very top, overclock and load. While you are amplified or have bolt charge, arc weapons gain increased handling and reload speed. Obviously, I am using this for the bolt charge. Next up, third row, 2 down, dielectric. Defeating arc debuffed targets grants bolt charge. The boost, rapidly defeating arc debuffed targets spawns an orb of power and heals a small portion of your health. Again, using this for more bolt charge, and I'm making orbs, which will make me gain my super more quickly. And then towards the bottom of the third row, elemental siphon, rapid final blows with a kinetic weapon or a weapon matching your equipped super. Create an elemental pickup that matches your equipped super. The boost, elemental pickups grant matching super energy while they are collected. So again, this just makes your super build even quicker, because ionic traces with geomags will give you more super energy, and then the boost also just adds to that. Fourth row, I'm using Dreadful Finisher just for extra special, but it has nothing to do with this build, so it doesn't really matter. I'm also using Flashover, which is in the same row. When you gain maximum bolt charge, you also become amplified. Lightning bolts deal more damage. Again, just adds to the bolt charge part of the build. And then I'm also using Gold from Lead, which picking up special has a chance of granting heavy ammo, but again, has nothing to do with the build. This is just what I am using, because there's not a whole lot of things that are just adding to the super. And then finally, fifth row, particle reconstruction. Dealing sustained damage with fusion rifles or linear fusion rifles partially refills the magazine from reserves and grants them bonus damage for a short duration against that target. So again, using this just because I'm using a fusion rifle most of the time, and on bigger enemies, it'll weaken them, but also I'm constantly refilling my mag, which is nice when I'm getting kills and stuff. And last but not least, limit break. Casting a super while you are critically wounded or have an elemental buff matching your super element grants a period of increased super damage. So specifically with Chaos Reach, all I have to do is be amplified or have any bolt charge and limit break procs, which is like, I believe, a 30% increase in damage to your super, which is massive. And yeah, so that's my artifact. Moving on to my actual subclass, obviously using Chaos Reach, using a Healing Rift, Burst Glide, Ball Lightning. I just prefer it over Chain Lightning. And then Storm Grenade, again, same thing. You can choose whatever grenade you want. I just like Storm Grenades. With my aspects, I'm using Ionic Sentry, which is the bolt charge stuff, right? When I get enough kills with Arc and do enough ability damage and all that stuff, I can deploy my little sentry that blinds targets, so on and so forth. And then I'm also using Electrostatic Mine, because it gives me Ionic Traces constantly, which again just goes into the build, allows you to build your super quickly. And now moving on to my fragments. First one, Spark of Beacons. While you are amplified, your special or heavy ammo weapons final blows create blinding explosions. Doesn't really add to the super part of the build, but I like it because it's constantly just blinding the enemies, making them not do anything to me. Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace. Collecting an ionic trace grants you a stack of bolt charge. Again, more ionic traces. Spark of Magnitude just allows my storm grenades to last longer. That's it. And then finally, Spark of Ions. Defeating a jolted target or defeating a target with bolt charge creates an ionic trace. So again, if it's not glaringly apparent, all about ionic traces. Now moving on to my weapons. The only thing that really matters here is the Delicate Tomb. Delicate Tomb's intrinsic trait, Trader's Vessel, fires a wide horizontal spread when shot from the hip. Final blows with this weapon have a chance to generate ionic traces. Powerful foes and opposing guardians always generate ionic traces. And then Tempest Cascade, collecting ionic trace, overcharges this weapon's next shot, jolting targets on hit. And then sometimes when I do run out of ammo, it is nice to have an arc heavy, because trying to make ionic traces with the subclass, arc weapons just pretty much are the best way for that. And then also, I'm using this season's machine gun because it has Rolling Storm, which allows you to build bolt charge without using abilities or arc weapons. And it's just, you know, a super fast way of building more bolt charge, which is a lot of damage and really, really strong. Now moving on to armor. I'm just going to start off with my exotic because the rest of it is just personal preference. But yeah, geomags. Geomags and Delicate Tomb and Chaos Reach are the most important part of this build, and it's how I'm getting my supers so quickly. So again, geomags were reworked so that collecting ionic traces grants you energy for Chaos Reach. That is new. That's what makes this build so broken, because you're using a fusion rifle that constantly makes ionic traces. Obviously, my entire subclass is built around ionic traces and making ionic traces. And yeah, it's that simple. There's nothing crazy. There's nothing special about it. It's that simple. They also did bring back when it's near sprinting while near max bolt charge will grant stacks over time. That's new. Because again, bolt charge was not part of the game until this season. So yeah. And then the only other thing is, with my build specifically, I am using 100 intellect. I don't remember exactly the point of, I think it's like 7 intellect is pretty much like the sweet spot with intellect. If I remember correctly, it's been a while. I'm sure you could look it up super quickly. But yeah, you don't really need 100, because basically between, I think it's like 8, 9, and 10, you're just barely seeing an increase or decrease in how quickly you're gaining your super. But like I said, I just decided I have a really strong build already, and I could easily go to 100 intellect while also maintaining 100 resilience. So I ended up doing that anyways. Now, real quickly, I will go over my other pieces of armor and the mods I'm using, just because, like I said, this is my personal build. I also will be putting a dim link as the pinned comment, because I know people always want my actual build, so I will be putting that in the comments, so if you need it, it's there. But yeah, anyways, moving on to my helmet. On my helmet, I am using a arc siphon mod, because obviously I'm using arc weapons and I want more orbs to add to my super. And then I'm also using ashes to assets just to gain a little bit extra super every now and then when I'm constantly using my abilities, throwing my grenades. I don't know if the sentry counts as grenade kills. I'm not 100% sure. It's possible it does. But yeah. Moving on to my arms, I am using melee kickstart. So when I do use up my melee, if I have max armor charges, I will automatically consume them, or consume the armor charges I have, and hopefully get most of my melee back, if not all my melee. On my chest, I'm just using an arc reserve for more ammo. Most of the time, I'm using 2 arc reserves. I think I switched it because I was doing a GM or something, but yeah, the more ammo, the better. And then again, on my geomags themselves, I was using arc scav because most of my damage is just my super, so I don't really care about surges. And then also elemental charges, which again just has to do with ionic traces. So like collecting ionic traces just gives me armor charges, which I'm constantly collecting ionic traces, so free armor charges. Also have innervation on so that I get my grenade more often when I'm picking up orbs. And then finally, my class item, I just have 2 time dilation, so my armor charges are decreasing at a slower rate. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't want this video dragging on too long, because again, I think a lot of people already know about this build, but I just wanted to show it off for some of the people that maybe subscribe and don't know about it, because again, I had a bunch of comments or a bunch of people asking how I was getting my super so fast when I was streaming this build yesterday or last night. So yeah, I thought I'd just show you guys my version of this build. It is super, super fun. As you guys are seeing in the actual gameplay, you know, I'm just doing the first encounter solo and flying through it, having my super constantly for every single subjugator. It's super fun, super strong. Also, because of Arc's recent buff to Amplified, and I'm always Amplified with this build for the most part. I'm also really resistant to damage because of that, because it just makes you tankier when you're Amplified. So yeah, it's a really good solo build too if you're trying to do some solo flawless dungeons or even flawless raids. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. One last thing. This is actually a comment or a question that somebody had for me while I was doing this last night, and I was just doing this in strikes and stuff, like regular content, and they were like, is this also good in endgame? And I was like, oh yeah, I do this in dungeons all the time. And they were like, what about GMs? And I was like, sure, let me show you. And I just went and did a GM with one random person from stream, and it was just the two of us, and it was pretty much a joke, had no problems, and I still have my super constantly. So yeah, if you were wondering if this is good enough in GMs, yes, it is very, very strong in GMs. But yeah, so that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Peace.